What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So after all of the fallout following the DLSS 5 reveal and all the comparisons that are out there and the backlash from gamers, Nvidia's CEO decided to respond to all of that, and it has not gone over well, kind of made things worse, and even brought up a whole bunch of other questions for it, but we're going to go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Crimson Desert. I believe reviews should be live today, but we did get a look at the base PlayStation 5 in action playing this game, so we'll see how that turns out. And Starfield. We were expecting a big announcement this week, and we got it. Not only paid DLC, but also free updates, and yes, that PlayStation 5 version. All that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, going over the world of gaming, trying to keep you up to date with the news. So even if you don't get a notification in the morning, just know there's probably a video here for you. And we're going to start today with the PlayStation Portal, as with everything that was been getting updates, apparently. This also got an update, and it'll be live today, March 18th, and in fact, we can see this over on PlayStation Blog, with the big highlight that everyone's pointing to, 1080p high-quality mode. It says players can now select a 1080p high-quality mode during remote play and cloud streaming. This new mode enables players to enjoy games at a higher bitrate compared to the default 1080p standard mode, providing a smooth and high-fidelity experience. Now, this is also going to be dependent on your connection, whether it's through your router or I guess here if you're cloud streaming, your internet connection speed at that point. But 1080p high quality, even higher bitrate, shouldn't really be an issue for most networks. I do wonder, though, as we're kind of expecting at this time with rumors going around, a revision or a refresh even for the PlayStation Portal, if this is being put in place for the newer OLED this system that we think it'll be like a PlayStation Portal OLED, but with a better screen and even a better like wireless chipset and connection. Maybe that's what we're seeing, but I mean, it's going to work on the current one, so I'm just curious to see how much better that image looks with the streaming technology and everything attached to it. But good to see just outright upgrades being made. I mean, almost across the board. We had PSSR 2, we have the Switch 2 getting boost mode, and now even the PlayStation Portal getting an upgrade when it comes to just the overall clarity of these games. Also, we did have a big addition for NSO go live, and you could see this is over on Nintendo's account, saying with Eevee as your companion, fight against an evil organization using Shadow Pokemon and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, available now on Switch 2 with GameCube, NSO, Classics, expansion pack members, all of this, but this is a pretty interesting game if you have not played it. I know, look, it's gotten very expensive online. Of course, people, emulators, I get all that, but the idea here being, it's kind of an all-shoot RPG that many people, I'm sure, have not experienced because it was on the GameCube, which didn't sell the best. But this is kind of a cool game to go back and just try. I am curious to see how it'll look visually with some of the scaling and stuff that they have right now on the GameCube with the NSO application. But this is a game that I had way back in the day, and then I had to repurchase it later on. Although I got it before the big GameCube boom, so I guess I got it at a good price then, but still definitely a unique, interesting Pokemon experience, single player all the way through, so certainly worth checking out. Now I'm sure many people are wondering, when's Coliseum going to show up? Well, probably not too much longer since there's only, two games I think left to go into NSO from the currently announced GameCube roadmap. Oh, and we had some big news for retro fans, as GameStop, you can see here, declared the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Nintendo Wii U, which I assume means by proxy the Nintendo Wii, are now considered officially retro consoles. And I mean, yeah, the 360 is more than 20 years old now. The PlayStation 3 will be 20 years old in later on this year. The Wii U is not quite that old, but it's getting up there as well. So, yeah, I mean, eventually you got to consider these things retro. I know people look at the 360 or even the PS3, which has a Blu-ray player and HDMI out, and you go, that can't be retro. Yeah, it can. We're just getting old. Again, wait till next year when we get to March 2027. Everyone looks around and goes, wow, the Switch 1 is 10 years old. We are really getting up there. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nvidia and DLSS 5, which had its grand reveal the other day, and it did not go over well. Well, okay, some people really liked it. I will say this. I was on social media and I was seeing it. And I said, really? People like this? Some people do. I will say it seemed like the majority of people went, what is going on over here with Grace and Resident Evil 9, which I'm happy to see that, because to me it was jarring almost to see that change, and people are saying it's like an AI filter. yeah, it does look like ChatGPT decided to touch up Grace in Resident Evil Requiem. But with all of this happening online, is a massive backlash taking place. A lot of people voicing their opinions against what was being shown with DLSS 5. Specifically, it seemed to be around the character models. Most people didn't seem to mind the environments, and that makes sense. Again, a lot of it comes down to sort of a recognition with faces. That's one of the most difficult things I feel like to do in gaming, is to have like recognizable faces, but ones that also fit into your art style. But if you get too realistic, don't necessarily freak people out too much. It's a whole thing to figure out. But this DLSS 5 filter, we'll call it, hasn't helped matters much with that. Well, Jensen Huang, who's the CEO at Nvidia, was asked about the backlash. Yeah, this we can see. This is over on Tom's Hardware. It says, at a press Q&A with Tom's Hardware at GTC 2026, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang downplayed the criticism of DLSS 5, the company's new use of AI and neural rendering to infer how certain features of games would look if they were more photorealistic. So, from my understanding, Tom's Hardware asked Jensen Huang about the response and the backlash online. Specifically, it seemed like from gamers, of course, because it's the games that were being shown off. And he says, quote, well, first of all, they're completely wrong. All right, that sounds like a man who has stupid amounts of money from the valuation of AI driving up Nvidia. So anyway, says the reason for that is because, as I have explained very carefully, DLSS 5 uses controllability of geometry and textures and everything about the game with generative AI. Hold on a minute. It's not post-processing. It's not post-processing at the frame level. It's generative control at the geometry level. Wait a minute, DLSS 5 uses controllability of the geometry. It's generative control at the geometry. I thought it was just lighting. That's the big thing, of course, that people are arguing now after these quotes, because it does sound like it's more than just lighting from what Jensen Huang is saying here. And while people are doing the comparisons where they're turning the lights on and off basically for Grace, and they're like, no, it's just lighting. There are a lot of people who are looking at it sideways and say, I don't know, parts of this, like the lips and even around the eyes and some of the parts of the outside of the face, they just look different, as in it's been altered in some way, almost like DLSS 5 is interpreting the original image or frame and then shifting and changing parts of it as it needs to, along with the lighting. And again, Jensen's comments here aren't exactly helping with this. And I mean, look, he is in a point now where he can just say, what are you going to do about it? Who cares, right? Like, we're pushing forward with this. The developers that are out there and a lot of these studios seem happy with it. So it's going to be an option in the future. And that's kind of that. Now, here's the thing. Again, they needed two 5090s in order to accomplish what they were showing us. So I'm going to assume most of you watching this don't have two 5090s on hand. I don't, so I'm looking at this going, you know what, I don't even have a 50 series card at this time. Like, you feel like if they wanted to sell me on a 50 series card, they would show me something that I go, wow, I gotta go get that 5080 or something so I can run this. It's like, oh no, 259s. Now, it will, I'm sure, get better over time, as you'd expect. It gets more optimized and can run on, we'll say, consumer level cards and builds. But then it's also, do I want that effect in my games? You know, there's a whole conversation right now going around. Do we want games to be photorealistic? That's a whole thing that sprung up after seeing this, the DLSS 5 get applied to games. And I think that's an interesting question, because eventually you do get to a position where it doesn't really look like a game anymore, and it does look photorealistic. I do think many people out there like the games to look like games. And I'm kind of in there too, because I think art style holds up better than anything. Like, if you have a really good art style that isn't like trying to be super photorealistic, I think it can be enjoyed really well 20 years later. Look at Wind Waker. I know it got a lot of flack when it first came out, but that game still looks really good to this day. And it's because they went with an interesting, cel-shaded design, but one that has stood the test of time. That's kind of where I am with it. But for me anyway, hey, look, DLSS 5, if you like it and you got the hardware for it, it's going to be an option, I'm sure, in the future. But for me, I mean, I don't even have the dual 5090s to run it, so I'll probably just leave that checkbox unticked. Next up, let's talk about Crimson Desert, which is out tomorrow. And I'm very much looking forward to this. Part of it is kind of the build up, the mystery, the hype that's been swelling online, and a lot of the stuff they have been releasing. While I'm sure they're giving us the best cuts of footage and gameplay, It looks very compelling. I was not expecting there to be a jetpack shown off and revealed like a week before the game comes out, but here we are. We're also hearing about all kinds of details around how large the world is, and in some cases that can be off-putting. But when it comes down to that, the draw distance, a lot of the stuff happening all across this world, I kind of have to see it for myself just to see, okay, they actually pulled that off. Well, part of that's been, what about the base PS5 or the base Xbox, we'll say the Series X even at this time? We got footage. This is for the base PS5. We can see this. Now, this is over on Push Square, who had the video embedded here. It's coming from PlayStation Japan in its play format. So they have all kinds of graphics and they're, of course, talking over with commentary and stuff. That's fine. They're just kind of showing the game off and really having fun with it. But it's about 20 minutes of just gameplay footage on the base PlayStation 5. And as they were going through, you know what? It looked pretty good. It's not going to look as good, obviously, as the PS5 Pro using the new iteration of PSSR. It's not going to look as good as a super high-end PC, which is probably how they've been showing this game off this entire way, right? The best possible look for it, I understand, with advertising. But it was functioning. It didn't look like it was slowing to a crawl or some like unplayable frame rate. And while it was uploaded in 1080p 30, so I'd like to see some higher resolution footage that I'm sure like Digital Foundry and stuff will eventually get their hands on, it looked manageable. So good news there. It's strange that it took until this point for them to finally show footage of it running on a base PlayStation 5, but we did eventually get it. And look, again, I still think it's worth holding off pre-ordering, seeing how some of the initial impressions turn out if you're still kind of on the fence. I'll be picking it up as soon as it releases. I'll fire up the base PlayStation 5 system and I'll record like an hour of gameplay there and just upload it in 4K so everyone can kind of check it out from that point. But at least so far, so good. We'll see how reviews turn out because right now people are dropping some heavy Metacritic prediction scores of like 90 plus. And if it hits that kind of a mark, that'll be super impressive for a game that has certainly a lot of pressure on it going into release. Next up, let's talk about Starfield with a free update, a paid story DLC, and the PlayStation 5 version. Now, Bethesda released an entire like press write-up and release for this thing, going over some of these details, as well as a near 20-minute sit-down with developers, kind of describing some of the update and the paid DLC, as well as that PlayStation 5 version. But like we can see some of it here. And starting at the top, the PlayStation 5 version does launch April 7th. It'll come out as a standard edition at $50 and then a $70 premium edition. While it does come with things like extra currency and others, it will also have the story DLC, which on its own is $10. That's the Terran Armada DLC. That will be coming out April 7th alongside the PS5 version. And then on April 7th, there's also a free lanes update. All right, it's called Free Lanes, but it's also the free update. But here, they'll be introducing cruise mode, and that lets you fly between planets. You could kind of fly between planets before. It took forever. Here, it sounds like this is going to be something where they kick you into warp drive and you get there faster. And so you'll be able to kind of transition between planets without having to do like the hyper jump or anything. You just kind of fly there if you want. And while that's happening, you can turn on autopilot. So the ship will fly to the planet you're aiming it at. It'll slow down when it gets into orbit, so you don't have to worry about crashing into the planet or something. But then you'll be able to kind of walk around your ship and hang out with your crewmates or do any other activities, decoration and stuff while you're flying there. So that's kind of neat to let you sort of multitask in that regard. There will be new space encounters. They say there's X Tech that lets you customize your gear further, as they also outline a new legendary rank for gear, and you can bring items with you in a New Game Plus without spoiling anything. The New Game Plus is probably the best feature of this entire game, certainly the most creative feature that I've never seen any other game do before. It's just kind of the way that they've set this whole thing up with the storyline. It all makes sense with New Game Plus being completely canon with it. Here, though, you'll be able to bring items with you into a new run. So that is actually a pretty big upgrade, because otherwise you lose like literally everything. But that, along with the PS5 version, I don't know if this is going to be all of a sudden like a resurgence for Starfield. I'll be kind of curious to see how it does on the PlayStation 5, because it's still Bethesda. It's still a big game for them. The story DLC sounds interesting enough. They didn't really give too much away, and why would they? It's story DLC. They certainly want to keep some surprises there. But at least that at $10, it's not like egregiously priced. Still wondering about how long it could be. Shattered Space didn't go over well. wasn't a great piece of content necessarily. So maybe expectations going into this should be somewhat withdrawn here. Keep it within check. All right. So I'm hopeful for Starfield, but I will also say, man, there's a lot I'm playing right now, and it's going to be tough to get back to Starfield to check out the new content or even the PlayStation 5 version. Still, though, good for people on PlayStation who are hoping to get this game eventually and be able to go through it, and good to hear about all the free updates that'll be happening for longtime Starfield fans who are still playing the game and will just, I guess, get a whole bunch of new content to explore. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Xbox Game Pass games to close out March and start up April. We can see this. This is over on news.xbox.com. Available right now, they have Gabby's Dollhouse Ready to Party. That's cloud, Xbox Series, and PC. Moving up to March 18th today, we have South of Midnight. That's going into Game Pass Premium. All right, it was already in Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass. We have The Alters, same deal there, joining Game Pass Premium. Moving to March 19th, Disco Elysium, cloud, Xbox Series, and PC. That, of course, going into Ultimate, Premium, and PC Game Pass, so hitting all tiers with that one. Moving up to March 24th, we have Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, cloud, console, handheld, and PC. That also is hitting Game Pass Premium here, alongside the other tiers. Then March 25th, we have Absalom, cloud, Xbox Series X, S, and PC. Again, Game Pass Premium. Moving to March 26th, Nova Roma. That's a game preview release on PC through Game Pass Ultimate, PC Game Pass. March 30th, we have The Long Dark. That's cloud, console, and PC. March 31st, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. April 2nd, Barbie Horse Trails. And then April 2nd, Claire Obscure Expedition 33 will be going into Game Pass Premium. Moving to April 7th, we have Final Fantasy IV, cloud, Xbox Series X, S, and PC. This is something they've been doing where they've been slowly dropping in all of the classic Final Fantasy games from that recent collection that Square Enix released. But still, it's kind of cool to see them just come out in succession, as you go along. So you could have started with 1 and worked your way all the way up through now to 4. So yeah, 5 and 6 also will be on their way. Not a bad way to close out the month, though, with Game Pass, especially if you're a Game Pass Premium subscriber. I mean, there's dropping a lot of these games from Ultimate into Premium. I'm still curious what the path forward is now for Game Pass. Of course, we know things like Forza Horizon 6 coming up, and there should be a whole bunch of games dropping for Xbox this year with Gears, Halo, and Fable. I'm more thinking about going into next generation if they have plans to change or alter Game Pass. So we'll see, I think, as we get into 2027. At least for now, though, it seems like the road's starting up for Microsoft with their 25th anniversary in November, starting with Forza coming up here in May. For now, though, again, not a bad way to close out the month. I'll be curious to see what they have for us with April. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, what do you think about the character models after Nvidia DLSS 5 has been applied? 80% just say it looks bad. Okay, 20% though say it looks good, and that's what I mean. There are people out there who, yeah, they like the way that it look, whether it's like the style of it, the lighting. My thing with that though, as I've been looking at these comparisons more and more, it sort of feels like there is just a spotlight or like a 3-point light system from film or something always following the character around. Like it's just off camera pointing right at them. And when you're seeing some of these scenes, it seems unnatural because that's just not how it is in life, like in a realistic setting. So when Grace is walking down that dark road at the time, and there was lights around her, street lights and stuff, it looked like it was almost just like there was a spotlight off to the side blasting at her to put all those lights on her face, where if you saw someone actually walking down a dark road like that, a street, it would probably be more muted on their face. So that's the thing right now. It's adding light so that its existence makes sense in the first place. So that's why I think it's so strange when I see some of these comparisons. It's like, I kind of feel like it looked more realistic the first time, whereas the second time it just looks more cinematic. That doesn't necessarily fit into everyday life that they're trying to mimic in this game. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from the Josh, who says, it's like Nvidia thinks we were asking for an Instagram or Snapchat filter. Yeah, I see that a lot. The Instagram filter. That's what's happening here, where you take a picture and you know what, let's just go ahead and make this very, very cinematic and dynamic looking with a press of a button. That's kind of what they're doing with DLSS 5. Now, Apparently there's more levers and stuff in the background for the developers to use. It was interesting though that Jensen brings up geometry and all kinds of stuff even outside of lighting, when the big push has been all about the lighting, and it's like, wait, hold on. Are we sure? Is there other stuff happening? Because that's like complete polar opposite of what they were originally saying in the press release and description for DLSS 5. And well, I mean, I tend to take the CEO of Nvidia's word for it when he's talking about Nvidia stuff, but that's just me. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card, or maybe you wanted to check out that Nintendo Switch 2 boost mode, where I did go through and do some comparisons to show exactly how much better it's making some of these games look. I'll leave that in the video right below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.